Today we're going to show you guys how to create this glow effect in 3 easy steps. Hello Photoshoppers and welcome to Photoshop Extra, where you get Photoshop with just a little bit extra. The first step to creating this glow effect will be adding glow to our background image. The second step will be adding glow to our foreground image, and the last and final step will be using the smudge tool to blend in our glow effect. Now let's get started. We're going to need a background and we're also going to need a foreground image. Your background image should be darker than your foreground image. If your background image is not dark enough, what you'll do is add an adjustment layer. So you go into your adjustment layers, you'll go up to exposure, and you'll just lower your exposure down a bit. I've already lowered the exposure for this image, so I'll bring up my foreground image. And to start your glow design, you should have something similar to this with a background and a foreground. Click on your background layer because we want to add layers above the background layer. The first thing you'll do is add a new layer above your background layer. Toggle your foreground and background color so that you have black. And with your new layer selected, we want to fill in this new layer with black. So to fill this layer with black, I'll press Alt and backspace to fill the layer with my foreground color. We want to set the blending mode for this new layer to screen, and this allows us to see our background layer. You then want to go back into your adjustment layers and we're going to add a gradient map. Remember guys, we're in step 1, so we're adding the glow to our background. Using your gradient map is how you're going to paint your background glow. So in your gradient map is where you're going to set the colors that you would like to paint with. We want to go with an orange yellow type of glow, so I'll add the first color by just clicking in this area here and add it around location 52. I'll double click it to bring up my color wheel and I'll select an orange color. The next location is somewhere around 76 and I'll change this color to something like a yellowish type of color. The end colors I'll leave on white and black. I'll click OK here, and now we have our gradient map layer, which we'll use to add our glow effect. We're going to select the black layer that we added above our background layer, and we'll add one more layer which we're going to use to paint our gradient map. What you want to do next is connect these layers to your black layer. I renamed the first layer above my background black. I also renamed the layer that I intend to paint with BG Glow, standing for background glow. And we want to connect our glow image and our gradient map to our black layer. So between the layers, you're going to hold the Alt key and just click. When you see that icon come up, we'll click here and then do it again for the gradient map layer. We'll click there. Selecting our background glow layer, we can start to paint our glow effect. I select my brush tool and I'll make my brush tool just a bit larger. I'll make sure that my foreground color is on white. This is really important, because if it's on black, you're unable to paint the glow effect in. So we'll make sure that our foreground color is on white. We got a good size brush and we'll just start painting our glow effect in. So now that we've added the glow effect for our background, we need to add the same effect to our foreground image. I'm going to remove my foreground image so you guys can see exactly what we painted in. This is the gradient map that we painted in. I'll add my foreground back and we're going to do the same effect on our foreground image. So we're going to go into our foreground image. We're going to make sure that our foreground color is set to black, and then we'll hit Alt backspace to add a new layer in. We're going to change the blending mode for that new layer to screen so that we can see through this black layer. And because we're using the same gradient map on our foreground as we did in our background, we're going to copy this gradient map layer by clicking on the layer and pressing Ctrl J. We're going to move this layer up above our foreground color, and it all comes together when you connect this layer with the foreground black layer. And now we're just one step away from adding the glow effect to our foreground image. To do this, we're going to click our foreground black layer. We're going to add another layer above this. We're going to name this layer FG Glow. And on this layer, we'll select our brush tool. We're going to change our foreground color, toggle that back to white because we want to paint with white. And remember that on this layer, we're painting in our gradient map onto the foreground image. For the foreground image, we want to just paint a light tint, so we're going to lower our opacity down to 10%, somewhere between 10 and 20%. We'll start it at 15% to add a bit of an orange hue to our foreground image. We'll select our foreground black and we'll add a new layer above the foreground black layer. We'll rename this layer Neon Glow. And on this layer is where the magic happens. We're gonna increase our opacity to something around 70 to 80%. We'll start at 75. We're gonna lower our brush tool. This is what's really important. We're gonna lower our brush tool and we're gonna zoom all the way in. And this is where things get really creative. With your brush tool selected, we're gonna just add that glow effect. All you need to do is add a line, outline your image. I normally create my outline wherever I see light on my foreground image. So I'll add something here, I'll add something here. We'll add some on the hair there, maybe add some there. We're gonna add it on the background of my chair there and add some there. So now that we added neon glow lines to our neon glow layer, we wanna smudge these lines so it has a more natural effect. So we'll select our smudge tool and have the strength somewhere around 40% here. And then you'll just begin and start painting with your smudge tool. So you could blend in your glow effect. And I noticed that it's best to kind of blend it out toward the light and then blend it back in so you get a more natural effect. You see, I like to blend it outward and then bring it back down so that way you have this more natural glow effect. Keep in mind that while you're adding this glow effect, you're really just affecting the lines that you painted on in the previous step. This smudge tool is not affecting your foreground image. In other words, you could take your eraser tool on this layer and just remove the glow that you added in and start all over. Go back to your brush tool, add a line here, and then you could go back to your smudge tool and continue with your blending effects. And continue blending until you get an image very similar to this. Remember, add the glow to where you see lighted areas on your foreground image, and there really isn't any right or wrong, but the effect is more so based on how good you commit to your blending. So spend a little time on your blending, spend a little time learning how to blend those lights. But the nature of this tutorial is to understand how to blend these lighting effects using a gradient map, your paintbrush, and your smudge tool. The more you practice the 3 easy steps listed in this video, the better you'll be at blending in these glow effects. If you guys found this video helpful and or informative, please consider dropping a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel and want to see more Photoshop tutorials with Photoshop Extra, please consider subscribing, as we intend to have a ton of Photoshop tutorials coming your way. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Easy, y'all.